So, I saw the Until Dawn movie. So, this video is going to be me making an attempt to go off the cuff and just kind of offer my observations and opinions in real time instead of doing it with a script in front of me. So, I'm going to loosely follow the formula that I do when I do book reviews, where I'm just going to kind of recap the movie and then give my opinions on it. If it seems like I'm hesitating more or there's a little more dead air, it's because I don't speak off the cuff for a reason. So, all right. The movie starts off following these five friends that are going on a road trip trying to retrace the step of the main character, Clover, whose sister Maddie? Madeline? I don't fucking know. I don't remember. The sister went missing a year previously after their mother died. And then they finally trace her last location from a video that she filmed in front of a convenience store called Hartley's Groceries. I believe I pointed that out in the trailer, that Hartley's is probably a reference to Chris Hartley from Until Dawn. So Clover ends up going inside and she meets up with the convenience store clerk, who's played by Peter Stormare. We're going to get into it. So he directs her down the road to a place called Glore Valley? I don't know if there's something about that name that I'm supposed to be picking up on. I don't fucking know. I don't recall anything like that being related to, like, Until Dawn. But Glore as in gore, as in viscera, with an L after the G. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm supposed to get from that. I don't know. Clover and her friends all go down to this place. They end up driving through a storm, which really freaks Clover out. They end up coming to a break in the storm. Like, there's a wall of water, of rain in the forest, and then they come out of it into an empty spot where there is a welcome center for Glore Valley. Like, the entire area is surrounded by falling rain. It's almost like they're in the eye of the storm. They immediately flag it as, like, the weirdest thing they've ever seen, but I don't know, I guess we just pretend it's not happening. So they go inside, they all, Clover stays outside initially, and she thinks she hears her sister calling to her from the forest. I don't fucking know. The friends go inside. One of them finds the missing posters on the wall from all the different people that went missing, including the sister's missing poster, but he notices that none of them have, like, the information you usually see on missing posters, height, weight, where they were last seen, etc. So they're noticing this weird shit in the house. There's, like, axes on the wall. Then what ends up happening is that Clover and the other guy, her former boyfriend, I don't fucking remember, Max, I think his name is Max. They go inside, and I forget a little bit of the order of operations here. The guy who found the posters, his car goes missing. Abe, his name is Abe. I'm slowly remembering all their names. Nina is one of the friends, and she signs her name in the guest book, which is also visible in the trailer. And, another girl, Megan, she's supposed to be like some woo-woo, psychic girl who, I guess, can sense ghosts. I don't fucking know. She goes into the bathroom, and progressively what ends up happening is the timer, the loop starts, and they're all frozen in the places where they were when the time loop started. So Clover and the boyfriend are outside, Megan's in front of the window, Nina's signing her name in the book, and Abe is looking at the posters on the wall. That's where they start every time the loop restarts in this movie. Abe's car gets stolen, disappears, and then suddenly reappears in the rain at the end of the woods, and they're all kind of looking at it and freaking out, and middle, they end up getting attacked by a serial killer. Abe dies first, then Nina. Max, Clover, and Megan have gone into the basement, and they end up getting attacked next. The serial killer guy that they have in this, he's dressed kind of like the way that Josh is dressed in Until Dawn. He's got a similar looking mask on, but he's this big hulking muscle guy in overalls, and he's super strong. Like, literally, I think there are multiple points where they, like, stab him or hit him with things, and he doesn't even flinch until the end, but we're gonna get to that. So the serial killer kills all of them. He kills all of them. They wake up in the same places where the loop started earlier. So Max and Clover are outside. Abe's in the missing poster room. Nina's signing her name in the guest book. Megan's in the bathroom. And so they're all kind of freaking out, being like, hey, we all just got murdered by a serial killer. What the fuck is happening? So on the second night, um, Megan gets possessed briefly by the ghosts of all the people who have been caught in the loop before and been brutally murdered and shit like that. We're gonna come back to it. We're gonna come back to it. There's so many stupid things that happen in this movie. It's ridiculous. So, she gets possessed, and then the ghost, like, snaps her neck and kills her. And then Clover gets dragged into the house of this, a house that has suddenly appeared, across from the Welcome Center. She gets dragged in, and there's some writing on the door, like, fuck the witch of Glore Vale, or something like that. And she gets dragged inside, and there's this lady, again, from the trailer, where she grabs Clover and she forces her to breathe in her, like, oxygen mask or something like that. And then Clover ends up possessed, and she puts on a mask, and then she kills Max, and then, what happens to Nina and Abe? Oh, yeah, they get killed by the serial killer again. So Megan's dead because the ghost snapped her neck. Abe and Nina get killed by the serial killer. Max gets killed by Clover, and then Clover gets killed by the serial killer. So that's night 2. Night 3. Is this where they're in the bathroom? I think this might be where they're in the bathroom. Yeah, it is where they're in the bathroom. So they all get together in the bathroom. And they shove chairs in front of all the doors. They're trying to make it so that the serial killer can't come in and get them again. So they're in the bathroom together. And Abe goes over to the sink. And he gets a cup of water. And he drinks the water. And they're all talking and doing the whole, like, oh, we have to survive until dawn thing, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. So Abe, fills up, everyone's like, oh, yeah, sure, I want a glass of water, too. So he passes the glass of water around to everybody, and they all drink from it. And suddenly Abe starts coughing. So, as I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's like a parasite in the water or something, right? There's something up with the water where it's gonna like make him puke. It's got like some crazy bacteria in it that's gonna kill him. No. He coughs up a little bit of blood, he coughs up a little bit of stuff, and then he fucking explodes. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Literally, like, kaboom, explodes. He fucking explodes. And so everybody freaks the fuck out. And then I believe Nina explodes. So at this point, they all realize, like, oh fuck, it's the water. We all drank the fucking water, we're all gonna die. Megan starts to explode too, but I guess she didn't drink that much water. Somehow she explodes third, even though she was the last one to drink any water and she didn't drink that much. This movie, we're gonna get into it. So her leg gets blown off, and then her stomach expands and I think explodes or something like that. And then Max and Clover are the last two, and Max explodes, I think. And then Clover just kind of lies down on the ground because she knows what's going to happen and she doesn't give a fuck. And then who comes walking in but Peter Stormare from the gas station? And he leans over her and he's like, oh yeah, you don't escape by staying in one place. And she's like, what the fuck? And then she explodes. So, they wake up. I'm trying to remember now because this all starts to blur together for me. I think, what are we on? Night 4? So they're on night 4. And now they're in the basement. And they're all talking about the fact that, the guy from the convenience store came into the thing and saw them. Okay, what's going on? He ends up contacting them over the radio. They're trying to do research. They start to realize that stuff is happening to their bodies. And, he lures her out of the house. The group, gets into an argument. Nina ends up fucking stabbing Abe, who, by the way, is her boyfriend. I don't know if I mentioned that before. So they all end up, running out to go get Clover after Abe is dead. And then, God, what happens? I think they get pursued by the serial killer again. I actually went to the bathroom around this point, so I may have missed a little bit of a chunk of it. Megan, I think, dies at the hands of the serial killer. Max finds Clover, who it's revealed that her sister is there and she's actually a monster now. Put a pin in that. We're gonna get back to that shit. Um oh, and they also found a video in the basement that revealed that Dr. Hill from Until Dawn, as in Peter Stormare, was basically doing an experiment on one of the guys they recognized from the missing posters. I think he was a minor, and he what did he say? Oh yeah, he basically implied in the thing that Dr. Hill had trapped him in the loop or something like that. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry, it doesn't make any sense to me either. They don't explain this by the end of the movie. I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. So, what ends up happening? Oh yeah. So Max and Clover are the only two left alive at this point. At some point Nina dies too. I don't fucking know. And they're being pursued by Clover's sister, who is all monstered out now. And Clover gets him to cut her throat, basically. And because she knows they're just going to refresh for tomorrow. And then he drinks a little bit of water that's just dripping from a pipe or something, and then he goes out and confronts the monstered up sister, and then explodes. God. Oh God. This is okay. So they wake up again. And so Clover has like a dream about her sister leaving. And it's like, all right, whatever. And they throw in some idiocy about how, it's like, oh, it's you're staying in place instead of moving towards something important, or it's life is important because you only have one shot at it. They try to shove some fucking emotional shit into this, and it just comes across as so insincere. But so she has a dream about the sister. Then she wakes up alive again, and she wakes up in the basement. Like I guess they dragged her down in there after she woke up from this last one. And here is where, like, the dumbest shit. This is where things get, like, crazy stupid. So she's in the basement with Max, Nina, and Abe. Megan is nowhere to be found. So Clover is like, hey, how long have we been here? Like, how many nights have we been here? Like, 4? And I think Max and Abe go back and forth about, like, oh, I think it's been like 5. No, I think it's been 6. And Nina goes, oh no, it's been 13. This is our 13th night here. And I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, no, it can't have been that long. And she's like, no, seriously, go look at the guest book. I signed my name in there, and it's repeating 13 times now. Out of fucking nowhere, in the middle of this movie, they cut out, like, 7 or 8 nights. 7 or 8 parts of the loop. And you know how they end up explaining it? Well, they don't even explain it. They never explain how these people do not remember the previous nights. They remember the first couple of nights. They don't remember nights like 5 through 12. But Abe was recording things on his phone. And somehow the phone retains the record of it even in the loop. I don't know. But so the way that the movie decides to handle nights 5 through 12, if I'm recalling correctly, is they literally show a montage of what happened from the recordings on Abe's phone. This is like so fucking lazy. So let me see if I can recount what happens. I know there's one where they're in a red hallway, don't know where it is. They go to open a door and they're like, hey, what's that thing? And there's a figure at the end of the hall. And you might recall this from the trailer or one of the trailers. It might have been like trailer 2. But so it's like the big tall figure in the hallway that comes rushing towards the camera with like the mask on or something like that. That's one thing that killed them. Then there was another scene from the trailer where Clover, the main character, she's standing there and someone's filming her and she's got that worm in her face, and then it cuts away and then it cuts back and the worm is like disappeared into her face and it's got all black on one side. There might have been another one. I think there was a oh yeah, so one of the ones, it shows them all dead at the end of the night, and then Dr. Hill is walking through the house, like looking at their bodies and then moving on. And then Megan picks up the phone and is like, I'm gonna try to follow him. Does she bring the phone with her? Of fucking course not. She just puts it down and disappears after him. And that's the point at which they realize that Megan is probably in danger because she's not with them right now. Oh, and I apologize. I've missed something. So much fucking happens here. I don't remember exactly when they slipped this piece of information in, but so it's revealed that Dr. Hill, those of you who are Until Dawn fans are gonna like shit yourselves because I almost shit myself during this. Dr. Hill is somehow like a supernatural being of some kind. I don't know what. They don't explain it. That's the motto of this film. They don't fucking explain anything. So Dr. Hill has been going around to different parts of the country. And at one point they show him having a staff badge from like Blackwood Sanatorium, which he never fucking worked at. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. Not gonna go down that path right now. But he's some sort of supernatural being who is going around to places that have experienced like tragedy or issues or something like that. And then he basically traps people in the time loop and exposes them to terrifying things like monsters. And it's a new thing every night that pops up and freaks them out. Because he's trying to scare them and keep them in an intense state of fear so that he can turn them into Wendigos. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you. That's literally what they went with. Now, to give you a refresher, for those of you who maybe, like, came to this video who are not familiar with the Until Dawn lore. So in Until Dawn, the video game, the Wendigos are created, and I don't know if this is in line with Native American folklore. I don't know if I recall correctly from like my limited research into Wendigos, I think there are different tribes that have slightly different interpretations of the Wendigo. It depends on who you're asking and what tradition they grew up in. But in the game, the Wendigo is created. There's kind of like a curse on Blackwood Mountain. If you commit, the spirit of the Wendigo is on the mountain. And if you commit cannibalism while on the mountain, you will become a Wendigo. That is what the game does. In the movie, they abandon that completely. The attitude is Dr. Hill is a supernatural being who is trying to engineer fucking Wendigos by trapping people in time loops and scaring the shit out of them. Choices were made. Choices were fucking made. And I don't understand why they were made the way that they were made. So the group decides, this is night 13, and they make it very clear that this is probably their last night because nobody's name, Nina wrote her name in the logbook. And again, it's the thing you can look at in the trailers where they show, you know, all these people's names repeated in the logbooks and they get kind of progressively more fucked up with every repeat. The idea is nobody's name has been repeated more than 13 times. So the group is under the impression that this is their final night. They have died every single other night, but this is their last chance. They don't have any more chances after this. If they don't get through this, they're either dead for real or they're going to become part of the night is basically how it's phrased in the thing, where the idea is they're going to become Wendigos and they're going to become trapped in the loop forever. This begs the question how the other people who were trapped in the loop ended up dead because how did their spirits possess Megan since she's, you know, she was possessed by the spirits of the people in the missing posters, but they're not dead. They're Wendigos. I don't know. So they decide they're all going to go after Megan, who has presumably gone looking for Dr. Hill. And at one point, the group splits up. I believe they start getting chased by Wendigos. They end up going through a tunnel through the basement, and they're trying to get to where Dr. Hill is in the sanatorium. And I guess they come to this conclusion because they find all of his old badges. And he always poses as like a doctor at a mental hospital or a sanatorium or something like that. He's always posing as a psychiatrist. So the group splits up. Clover ends up killing her Wendigo sister. The rest of the group just spends the night, like it's Abe, Nina, and Max. They just spend the rest of the night running for their lives from the Wendigos. That's about it. But Clover finds Megan and has to release her from a room. She's locked in with a Wendigo. So Clover has to go find a key. She goes into what ends up being Dr. Hill's office where he confronts her. And he basically reveals that Clover is and her issues, like her mom dying, her sister going missing, her depression, her past trying not to get YouTube to kill me here. Her past attempting to yeet herself from her own existence, if shall we say. Uh Basically her mother's death, her sister's disappearance, and her mental health struggles are effectively what is driving this cycle, which again just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I don't understand how that's possible. He's creating the time loop, but how is he doing that when she's the one who's engineering it? I I don't get it. So this is where I almost, like, fuck the chicken jockey stuff. I almost threw my popcorn at the screen at this part. So as Dr. Hill is doing his villainous yapping, Clover realizes that there is water dripping from the ceiling. And he has a cup of coffee on the table, on the desk. And so she takes his coffee while his back is turned, and she slips it under the drip of water. And then she pulls it back out, and then she waits until he picks up the mug again and drinks it. She's like, haha, got you now, motherfucker. And then he tries to kill her, except that he explodes. It was so stupid. It was so stupid. It was so dumb. It's just they never explain the exploding water. They never explain it. It's not like if they had just like put in an effect of like, I don't know, monster worms or something like that, or a parasite or some shit. I don't fucking know. I wouldn't question it quite as much. But it literally just makes you explode. That's all it does. It's like the end scene from Ready or Not, where everybody is just like spontaneously exploding because the devil or some shit. But that at least is played for laughs. It's meant to be black comedy. It's meant to be funny and dark as fuck. This was played straight. Maybe with a teensy ounce of humor in it. But for the most part, it's played straight. And so she kills Dr. Hill by fucking exploding him. She gets the keys from him. She frees Megan from the Wendigo. Everybody escapes. They survive until dawn. They drive off into the sunset, and everything is fine. Except then, in like the last scene, despite the fact that that Dr. Hill is dead, he has a bunch of monitors in his office, and it suddenly cuts to a lodge in the wintertime, and an SUV rolling up in front of a lodge. And that was the point at which I was like, fuck this movie. Well, actually, no. There was a part when Clover was in Dr. Hill's office and he's doing his villainous yapping. She looks at his desk, and I shit you not, there's a bunch of papers of like his patients and shit on the desk. And at the very top is Josh's file with a picture of Rami Malek from the video game on it. And at that point, I almost pulled a Will Smith and was like, keep my boy's name out your fucking mouth. It was, I very rarely get like irritated or angry at movies, but this one actually made me kind of mad. It was you may be wondering, because I put out a video about the Until Dawn trailer a while back, and I said to myself, this doesn't look that great. I went to see it because I thought to myself, like, okay, it may have nothing to do with Until Dawn, right? Like, it may have nothing to do with the lore, it may have nothing to do with the characters or the story or anything like that, but it might be a serviceable horror film on its own merits with just a little bit of unnecessary Until Dawn references thrown in. Fine, whatever, I'm cool with that. Maybe I'll enjoy it even regardless of that. But this film, in my opinion, again, I'm not saying that my opinion is the be-all end-all of the world. I'm not saying that if you enjoyed this movie, you're wrong or bad or stupid for enjoying it. I personally thought it was stupid, though. It's... So right from the beginning, I'll reiterate a criticism that I had from the trailer. The character designs for these characters was so unimaginative compared to Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures anthology games, and The Quarry too. There is such a variety of characters. In Until Dawn, you have characters of and the rest of the games, you have characters with varying skin tones, varying hair colors, varying hairstyles, varying clothing styles too. And it serves to make the characters very distinct from one another's, even if you don't necessarily remember the characters' names. And boy, did I have to struggle to get all their names down. It was only through great effort that I recalled their names for this fucking. It serves to visually distinguish the characters from one another. And sometimes the choice of attire can give you a hint about the character's personality. Like, for example, Jess from Until Dawn. She has, the cute little purple jacket. She's got her, braids and the two pigtail braids. But then she also has a very short shirt on and low waist jeans. And you can actually kind of see her underwear poking out of it a little bit. And that kind of serves to characterize Jess a little bit. She's flirty, she's romantic, she's hot for her boyfriend. It serves to add just that little bit of characterization to it. The point I'm trying to make here is that the characters are visually distinguishable from one another, and it makes them unique. It makes you able to keep track of them, despite the fact that there's a decently sized cast in most of these games. And it serves to aid with characterization. The characters in this film, they all looked the same. All three girls had dark hair, dark curly hair at that. Hell, the boys had dark and curly hair too. They all had a similar skin tone. Which, in fairness, these are real people, they're actors, so, that's not as big of a deal. But also, their clothing was super similar to one another. I think Megan was the only one that had, like, a really distinct style. She had a little bit of, like, a hippie look on her, which was fitting because she does the whole psychic thing. But for the most part, most of the characters just kind of all look the same to me. And it's like, could we not have spiced it up a little bit? Could we maybe have put them in different colors? Could we maybe have given them slightly more distinct hairstyles? Could we have, there were opportunities that could have been taken with the character design and the wardrobe choices in this movie that were just completely neglected. And it's really disappointing because there was just opportunities. There were so many opportunities to make things look better in this film. Again, Dr. Hill. So in Until Dawn, the video game, Dr. Hill there's two Dr. Hills. There's the Dr. Hill that we see as the player characters, and we are playing in the therapy sessions in the game. You don't realize it at first, but you're actually playing as Josh. And there is, I think I mentioned this theory in my own Until Dawn remake playthrough, but there's kind of this thing where Josh is hallucinating his actual doctor, Dr. Hill. And there's kind of been some interpretations of, okay, it could just be Josh hallucinating altogether, but he's also on Blackwood Mountain, which means that it could be the spirit of the Wendigo that's maybe interfering with his mind. But he has mental health issues, and the implication, there's been a theory, an interpretation, that the Dr. Hill we see in the game might be a manifestation of the spirit of the Wendigo trying to drive Josh mad, trying to drive him to be a cannibal or do some other fucked up shit. But then there's also Dr. Hill, the real guy. And if you escape from Josh as Sam when he's chasing her and she's in the bath towel in the game, if you escape from him, what you eventually find in the basement, you find a bunch of the stuff that points to him being the serial killer, quote unquote. But you actually, if I recall correctly, find Josh's phone, and there's text messages from the real Dr. Hill being like, "Hey buddy, are you good? Did you go off your meds? Your last text kind of concerned me. Please call me back. I'm really worried right now." So there's the real Dr. Hill, who is implied to be a perfectly normal therapist who cares about Josh's health and safety. And then there's the hallucination Dr. Hill that Josh is seeing on the mountain. And in the movie, they decide to just take it a completely different way and be like, oh, Dr. Hill is actually an evil supernatural being who goes around trapping people in time loops, traumatized people in time loops, so that he can turn them into Wendigos. And I said this before, I think, where it's a complete departure from the Until Dawn lore surrounding Wendigos. And it just seems so unnecessary to me. I feel like this is almost giving me, I have not seen this movie in years, but it's almost giving me similar vibes to Silent Hill Revelations, where if you saw the Silent Hill live action movies, you had Silent Hill 1, where they changed a lot of stuff around. They had a mother seeking out her daughter rather than a father seeking out his daughter. They made some changes to the movie. And then I feel like when they made Silent Hill Revelations, they tried to. They heard the fan criticisms, and so they grabbed things and they tried to force the train back onto the track. They tried to make Silent Hill Revelations more honorable to canon, but the problem is that the movie that it's a sequel to diverted so much from canon that it doesn't work. You can't do the canon of the video games and the canon of the original game that you set up. They tried to mash the two together and it just did not work. And I almost feel like that's what they did with Until Dawn the movie, is that they tried to do their own thing, but then at other times they tried to force stuff in from Until Dawn. And instead of being clever, which is what I think they were hoping it would be, it just ended up being a mess, again, in my opinion. The storytelling in this movie was just not great. Where do I even fucking start with this? First of all, I mentioned before, they tried to shoehorn in like the heartfelt message that a lot of Hollywood fucking movies like to do, where it's like, oh, Clover is stuck in place and she's not going anywhere because she's stuck in place with grief. And then what was the other one? What was the other one? Oh, and life is more meaningful because you only have one shot. It was shoehorned in. It came across as so insincere to me. Like they're trying to do, sympathy bait. They're trying to force emotion out of me that, I'm sorry, you just did not put the work into making authentic. The other thing too was just the choices. There were so many opportunities. Until Dawn has a mechanic where you have to cultivate relationships with the characters. And you have to be very careful about the choices you make about pissing off certain characters, because if you do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing at the wrong time, someone could die. You could die, or you could be killing another character in the future. And there was a scene, it was the first night, where everybody's getting killed by the serial killer. And the serial killer drags Megan out of her hiding place, and Clover is still hiding, and she's grabbed a knife, and the serial killer has Megan on the floor, and he is bashing her face in. And every time he pulls her head back up, she's looking at Clover, and she's like, please, trying to entreat Clover to help her. And Clover is frozen in the corner. She's got a knife in her hand. She's not moving. And then Clover ends up getting killed too. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so now there's going to be some like division, right? There's going to be some conflict. Like Megan's going to look Clover in the eye and be like, oh my God, you didn't help me. I needed your help. Why didn't you fucking help me? Didn't happen. They brushed right by it. Then later on night 4, yeah, I think it was night 4. It's the last real night before they all lose their memories and don't experience the rest of the nights. Whatever. Nina kills Abe, and she kills him because he makes a really insensitive remark about the fact that Clover has attempted to, again, trying to be careful for YouTube, yeet herself from existence, if you know what I mean. She's attempted to do that twice in the past year. He makes an insensitive comment to the effect of like, okay, she's running off towards danger. Well, guess what? If we all die, we're okay tomorrow. So isn't this what she wants anyway? And they get into an argument and Nina ends up stabbing him. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, again, this is like a really big point of division. So clearly tomorrow when they wake up and experience the next day, there's going to be a huge issue with Abe, right? Like now there's going to be major group division because he's just said something fucking horrible, right? Nope, not at all. Again, in fairness, they skip through like 8 days. So I don't know, there could have been some group division on one of those other nights, but basically, when we next see the group together on night 13, it's like it never happened. It's like he never made the comment. It's like he never said that. And I I don't get it. I don't get it. You are basing this off of a game where the character relationships are so important for survival towards the end of the night, and you didn't have the group experience any major divisions or discord. Even though Abe said something like really shitty. It's that was a missed opportunity. Oh, the way that they chose to handle the loop drove me nuts too. All right, so the first night they get killed by the serial killer. Okay, cool, fine. Second night, there's like something possessing them and it makes Clover kill him, but then also three other people get murdered by a fucking serial killer. All right, fine, whatever. Then the third night, the exploding water happens. Again, they never explain it. They never fucking explain it. They don't. Why is water making people explode? It's again, all they had to do was just put some CGI worms in there. And I could have been like, okay, they're fucking monster worms or something. I don't know why the water makes people explode. And apparently, it's all water. Because at the first time, they get the water from the tap in the sink in the house, right? Okay, cool, fine, whatever. Then they proceed to drink water that's just dripping from the ceiling or dripping from a random pipe or something, and that will make you explode too. Okay, that's believable. Oh, while I'm at it, so on the second night, I think I mentioned that a house appears across the way from the Welcome Center where the center of the action is. And Clover goes up to it. And it's like, or actually she gets dragged to it by an invisible entity. Because she's an idiot and she opened a door even though Megan said don't open the fucking door. The characters were really stupid. I'm not going to make a whole thing out of it, but they made some incredibly poor fucking decisions in this movie. Like dumber than usual.
Let's hide behind the chainsaws.
Smart. Yeah, okay.
But so Clover ends up at this house, and on the front of the house is written, on the front of the door is written the words, "Fuck the Glore Valley Witch." I'm thinking, okay, is this the source of the time loop? Like, is this something that's going to be important? Nope. They did that. Came out of nowhere. Nothing happens. Don't understand why. They again wasted a fucking opportunity. By the way, this lady has loads of masks, like serial killer masks, like the one the killer is using. They never explain it. They never go into it. They did not take advantage of that. And I just feel the need to make this point again because I'm still mad about it and it was so fucking cheap. Was skipping like 7 or 8 of the nights and just having them be videos on Abe's phone, even though there's no fucking reason why his phone should be retaining footage inside the time loop. They literally just did that for convenience's sake. They didn't want to have to film the nights, so they just cut it out. It was cheap. It was very cheap. I was not a fan of it. And then the final night pissed me off so much because you have these characters who up until this point, I've mentioned in at least one of my, I think it was the Coven video that I did, the idiot ball. They had the characters in this movie holding the idiot ball up until that final fucking night. And remember, they don't remember nights 5 through 12. They don't fucking remember them. So it's not like they can say that they've learned from their experiences and they've just gotten really good at surviving. Kind of like how Tree does in Happy Death Day. She's able to survive and she gets really good at it because she dies so many fucking times that she just starts to get experienced with it. But in this movie, on the 13th night, the final night, suddenly they're fine. Suddenly they're able to run away from the monsters. Suddenly there are no locked doors. Suddenly, there's no water making them explode. Suddenly the Wendigos aren't fast enough to catch them. It was so cheap. It was clearly engineered with the idea of them all surviving the night. It felt cheap. Again, it just felt so fucking cheap to me that they were so dumb those first several nights and they died so easily, but then they just magically survive at the end. And I am still incredibly I wanted to throw things at the screen when she got Dr. Hill to blow up by dripping some fucking water into his coffee. If it had been a situation where she tried that and it didn't work, I would have been like, all right, that was kind of clever. You know, you tried. You set me up making me think that that's what she was going to do. But it didn't work, and now she's going to come up with something else. I would have respected that. I would have had some respect for that. But I was so mad when it was that easy to kill him. And it just comes across as so goofy. It was so fucking goofy. It was ridiculous. If she had managed to get him killed with a Wendigo, I would have respected that too. But it was goofy. It was, as the kids say, unserious, and I was not impressed with it. It was just stupid. Oh, yeah, I guess one more thing I'll mention too is the Wendigos are not nearly as intimidating in this film as they are in the game. There's one part where it's on the 13th night. They're down in the tunnels trying to go find Dr. Hill and Megan. And they come across a Wendigo, and Clover goes, "Don't move." And it's like, my good bitch, where did you ever get the lore that you're not supposed to move in front of a Wendigo? Because that's a thing in the game. It's a thing in the game where you're not supposed to move because the Wendigo can only see you if you move or if you make noise. And I feel like they just threw that in as a reference to the movie and it was stupid. You didn't build up enough to that. Sorry. But the Wendigos were also, like, I will grant you this, in a world full of CGI movies coming out of Hollywood nowadays where they over-rely on CGI, I do believe the Wendigos were primarily people in makeup and costumes, so I'll give them credit for the practical effects. But at the same time, I don't know, it just removes a little bit from the Wendigo, because the Wendigos in the video game were so intimidating because they scuttle like really quickly. Like they're almost like spiders where they move faster than you expect them to. And they're so strong and so fast that you're terrified of them because you know that if you fuck up once, you're dead. And the Wendigos in the movie were just not nearly as intimidating as they were in the game. So that kind of took me out of it a little bit. So, yeah, was not a fan of the movie. I have a sneaking suspicion it will not be getting a sequel. It's just a hunch. This very much felt like a cash grab. And that's really disappointing because I kind of feel like, again, I was prepared to accept this movie on its own terms as a horror movie within its own right. And yeah, it's irritating that they're using Until Dawn's name when it clearly has nothing to do with the video game. But, I was prepared to accept it on its own merits if it could be a good horror movie, but it wasn't a good horror movie. The characters were unnecessarily stupid. The plot was very contrived to me. Things just kind of conveniently fell in place for the characters when they needed it to. The characters did fucked up things to one another and had no commentary on it the next night. It just wasn't that good of a horror movie, just even judging it on its own merits. I do hope that the success of this movie was not riding on the idea of us getting a sequel to Until Dawn, because I am really, really, really hoping that we're getting a direct sequel to Until Dawn, the game, I mean. But yeah, I was not impressed by this movie. I mean, I guess you could probably get some chuckles from it if you're prepared to not take it seriously and not get too mad about it the way I did. But in my opinion, the Until Dawn movie was not that good, which unfortunately I think is what a lot of people were expecting from it. So, yeah. Have a good night.